Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing for Designers podcast. I'm your host, Masha Cohen, a messaging strategist and a copywriter for the interior design industry. I've been marketing for what feels like forever in my past career at some of the biggest global firms like KPMG and Deloitte. Today, I write website copy for designers using my signature voice of customer framework. If you're a designer looking to up your marketing game and attract premium clients, this podcast is for you. Each week on the show, we're going to be talking all things marketing, from branding to messaging to social media, SEO, and so much more. So you can have all the tools you need to grow your business and attract your dream clients. All right. Welcome back to the show, Marketing for Designers. So today we're talking about a couple of things. We're talking about creating compelling video content and getting help with that, training your marketing virtual assistant to help you outsource this task. So my guest today is Kirsten Graham. She's a sales director and co-owner of Six Figure Business Coaching, business dedicated to the success of female service-based small business professionals looking to grow a business and have a life they love. Kirsten got over 35 years of experience in sales and coaching and helps business owners create evergreen, value-based content that showcases their authority to build know, like, and trust. Knowing that time is our most valuable asset, Kirsten and her team train marketing VAs for their clients who then take care of video, audio editing, and repurposing. This frees the business owner up to focus on making money. So welcome to the show, Kirsten.
Thank you so much for having me, Marsha. I'm excited to talk with these designers today.
That's great. I think this is such a good topic because obviously video is huge, and doing video right and making sure it works for your business, and also training your VA and getting some support with that. That's one of the things that I know interior designers and other service providers are always interested in learning more of. So why don't we start with what are the key elements of making video content compelling?
Yeah. So first of all, you want to think about it from the perspective of the audience. And sometimes I think, we all know so much about our particular field and we're so passionate about what we do, but sometimes we forget that people don't always know the basics. So I think it's really important to think about every question a client or prospect has ever asked you. And there's a very good chance that there's some content in that. And everything from because there's a lot of different interior designers and they work different ways, or how they get paid is very different. So I think helping them understand the process of design, helping them understand the unique, your unique skills that you bring to the table. I love one of our clients. She talks a lot about, my goal is to make your vision a reality. I'm the designer who I don't have a style. I'm going to lean into what you want, what you want your home to look and feel like, and we're going to design that together. So she kind of approaches it with a collaborative messaging. So, and it just really depends. There's no right way or wrong way to grow your business or interact with your clients, but you have to think about how can you educate people on what it's like to work with you? What is it like to experience living in that fabulous home once you've designed it for them? The other thing that I think is important with video content, especially for local businesses, is it's a great way to take advantage of local SEO. Google is the largest search engine. It owns YouTube. And so I don't know the last time you did a Google search and a video popped up, right? And it's because Google is an ads platform and so is YouTube. And in this day and age, we're more likely to watch a video than we are to read a long blog post, which means YouTube will make more ad money by having us sit there and watching that video. So that's why I think video is so important for local businesses. It can help you, really rank higher with SEO.
I think people forget about that aspect. I like that you're tying SEO specifically to video. What's something that people can think about? Because I'm not sure if designers they do know SEO. I know it also overwhelms them a little bit, but what should they consider to make sure that their video content is SEO friendly?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love the fact that you do a lot with SEO too. So I always joke that it's like voodoo magic, right? Like it's like none of us really know how it works, right? So I kind of like to break it down to the easiest, common denominator, which is figuring out what your customers or potential clients are searching for, and then create content that answers their questions. And there are great tools that you can use for that. Tools like Keywords Everywhere. If you have a YouTube channel, TubeBuddy is great with that. So there are tools that can help you reverse engineer your content so that you're answering questions. So I live in Sarasota, Florida, and you have a lot of people move from up north. So now they have all of this, heavy furniture or dark and rich, colors that they bring with them. And that doesn't always fit the Florida vibe. So again, creating content that might talk about, you're moving up from up north and you want to integrate some of your pieces into your new Florida style. How do you do that? And then just answer that question. Mm-hmm. So what we're getting in there is interior design. We're getting in there Florida style. We're getting in there that they're moving from up north, which may help if someone's looking for a designer or they're thinking about moving down. So you want to think about what are people searching for? And so the keywords what we talked about there would be Florida style, interior design, but then you would also add other keywords throughout that content, maybe Sarasota, Florida, or Siesta Key, Florida, or, talking about coastal versus tropical. So there's lots of things that you can do in those videos that use a lot of keywords to answer questions that people are asking.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And I like that we're starting with questions that your prospective customers may have. It's for the same reason I recommend creating like an FAQ page on a website, just because you want to meet your customers where they are. You want to, as they are consuming your content, you should understand that they already have questions in their head, and your content better address that. And it's great if it addresses it proactively. So I like the idea of starting with kind of like the typical questions that your prospective customers may have. Is there anything else? So there's SEO. What else goes into creating a truly compelling video content that resonates with your ideal customers?
You have to remember we have a very short period of time to capture their attention. So you want to have a hook. And it really depends on the person. I like to outline my videos, so I just have talking points. Generally we'll have the hook written out. So, because most of us don't talk with hooks, so we don't speak that way.
Yep.
So I'll have that written out, but everything else, I just kind of have talking points. My business partner tends to write everything out, so she's way more scripted. So there's no right way or wrong way to do that. So I think that's the first thing, is understanding that you want to have a good outline that is going to include those keywords. But you also think about the style of video. So when it comes to interior design, for example, we talked about coastal design versus tropical design. And I'm sorry, I'm not a designer, so I don't have a lot of terminology, even though I have a couple of design clients.
Oh, it's okay.
So that topic is something that you could do in a talking head style video. So you can look at the camera, but you could have great images that go into that video. So you don't always have to be filming on site, which I think is what a lot of people think. So thinking about the style of video. So having that talking head video where you're talking about different concepts, and then the other part of that is if you have finished a room or a home, going through that home and just, with a little stabilizer to make sure that your camera's not shaking, but you can be behind the camera. You don't always have to be on camera, and you can talk about why you chose different elements for the room, why you chose it a certain way. And that might be, my client had this fabulous armoire from her grandmother, came over from England. And so she wanted to implement this into this marketing strategy. I talk with my hands, sorry guys. But yeah, so talk about how that piece really was where you started with the room. But again, maybe it's heavier, it doesn't really fit a Florida vibe, but then how you made it work. So, and I think what happens is the biggest fear people have is if I share all this knowledge with people on video, they're never going to hire me. And it's just the opposite. And the reason for that is video builds know, like, and trust. And so if people, they can see themselves having that conversation with you about a piece of furniture that they love, that they want to implement, or they can see how you're talking about the client's preference for certain things and how you married certain things together. So it really does let them see that you are the type of person who's going to listen to them and that you're creating something that they are going to love. And that's one thing we always talk about when creating content in a space. Because remember, your client is going to see that video. Give the client kudos in that video, right? You're more likely to get referrals. They feel good about how they helped to design their home. So it doesn't take away from you or your talent or what you brought to the table.
I like that. So there's all kinds of different formats that we can do these videos. It's not you don't necessarily have to be on site for that. You can simply be in your home and then overlay your videos with different images. And I'm sure you'll speak to that a little bit later, how your virtual assistant can help you kind of pull up the imagery inside the videos, but you can also do it on site. Are there any other videos? Because I think when it comes to video, people are just a little bit scared to show up on video and, show your voice, show your face, but it's imperative. Like we already know that video is just king, and you absolutely have to show up on video, because not only it boosts your credibility, but it also shows your face. Like it humanizes your brand. It lets your prospective customers get to know you. And like you said, to build the know, like, and trust factor. So what other formats, and I know we're getting into examples, but what other formats can we consider as interior designers?
Well, again, if you're not able to go into the home and shoot video right there, but you've taken a lot of images, like you talked about, you can take those images and you can just talk while you're kind of looking at the image on the screen, and then you can upload that to your virtual assistant, and they can kind of marry it all together and make it sound like a great video. But I do want to address, like, what do you look like and how do you sound like? I don't think any of us like the way we look on camera or the way we sound on camera. I think that's perfectly normal. I think if you do, you might be a little narcissistic. I don't know.
It's a virtual thing for sure. Anybody can relate.
But I think the thing is, I always like to say to people, let your desire to serve others and truly help your clients overcome your fear and your judgment of yourself, because that's really all it is. And I know that I have a really good friend. We started doing video in 2006, so it's been a very long time. But I just remember a really good friend of mine owns a law firm. And this is probably 15 years ago. She went to a conference, and it was a marketing conference for lawyers. And there was a guy up there, and he was talking about how important it is for lawyers to use video. And he said, let me just ask you, and I'm not going to say the word, but you guys will get the picture. He said, how many times has someone walked into your office and said, you're so blank but ugly, I'm not going to work with you, and turned around and left, right? And so, like, we get the feeling that, like, the people that see me on video, I talk with my hands. If you see me in person, this is what you get, right? There's no difference. And so I also think the flip side of that is you will often repel people that are not your ideal clients. And I know that sounds like a terrible thing, but if you're new in your business, my first piece of advice to you is not everybody's meant to be your client. And you will save yourself a lot of headache and stress figuring out who your ideal client is. And sometimes walking away from a client, which is always hard when you need the money. But if they're going to drive you crazy, they're not the right fit, you're better off to walk away. But that's what your content should do. Your content should really attract your ideal clients and almost in some ways repel, your not ideal clients. We don't go in and talk about politics, or we're not trying to repel half the population because we're talking about politics. We're not talking about religion. But again, if someone's listening to me and they just don't like the way I speak or, whatever, then that's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. There's someone else out there better to serve them. And that's great.
100%. I agree with you. I think your marketing, I agree with what you said. Your marketing absolutely needs to attract that ideal client. And not everybody understands that in the beginning when they're just launching their business. When I was picking my interior design niche at first, like 6 years ago, my husband was like, no, like you're better off being a generalist copywriter because, there's a lot more business out there. But then, I'm a true believer in niching down. I'm a true believer in really, really identifying who it is that I want to work with, because over the years, I've worked with some clients that were not the best fit. And from here on, my marketing and every word that I put out there speaks to that specific ideal client that I want to work with. And I think that's one of the goals of marketing, to actually make sure that your content resonates with the people that you want to attract. And like you said, repel the rest.
Absolutely. You're going to make more money because you're not wasting your time spinning your wheels on people that are not right for you. But again, I think and I do think this is something that helps, is when you start creating video content, I do think you get clearer and clearer on who you're talking to, right? Because what you're doing is you're thinking, step. Yeah, because you're also thinking about, like you said, when you help your clients do that, questions for their websites, FAQ. When you're answering those questions, you're getting really clear on who your client is and the types of things that they ask. And so when you're creating content about those questions, again, you're really starting to see a pattern of who your clients are.
Is there something, when you think back to maybe your clients and the types of video that they produce, What's a really effective one? What examples can you speak of that have been really effective in resonating or attracting the right attention?
Yeah, we have one person who does like corporate videos type things. He does really interesting niche. He is a coach for like people in the tech profession. And so even though he's coaching people in the tech profession, he really wants the corporations to hire him. And so he's creating content right now because we know that all the tech companies are laying off. So he's creating content right now to appeal to that manager, that, VP or whoever is still in the company, and they still have to get all the same work done, but they've got half the head count because of the layoffs. So creating that kind of content is really speaking to those people. And he's marrying that with the bridge is how his coaching can help the current employees that they have be more productive, enjoy their work more, and, for the company overall to thrive. So that content does really well. I think interior designers, you guys have it so you have it made because like as a business coach, like we don't really have great visuals. So I feel like any content that has really beautiful visuals often does very, very well. Our real estate agents always do fantastic because they have a lot of educational content that they can create. But then like interior designers, they also get to have all this footage of these amazing homes. So yeah, I think there's lots of different niches that can do really well with video. And again, inside of each of those niches, there's different ways to approach your content strategy.
But I think what you said is so important. I feel like it goes back to really knowing your audience, considering your like that corporate client. Obviously, he's speaking to the pain point of his ideal clients. Those are still, in the company, but they now have less people to do the things that they need to do. And he really zeroed in on what it is that they're looking to achieve. And his content is educational and speaks to that pain point. So it always goes back to really knowing and understanding your audience. Well, that's great. So video is great. You've shared a couple of best practices in terms of how interior designers can take advantage of that. Now, let's talk about getting help, because not all of us are really techy. Not all of us are good at doing the video and splicing and dicing and editing your videos. So how can we get help? What should designers look for when hiring a virtual assistant? And I really love, before we hit record, I learned the difference between like a regular virtual assistant and a marketing virtual assistant. I was hoping you can speak to that because there is a difference. And, if you are already working with a virtual assistant, you can make them either into a marketing virtual assistant, or you can get help specifically for your marketing efforts.
Sure. So we actually started outsourcing almost 17 years ago. So my current business partner, who was actually a coaching client, a mentor client back then, she had started a marketing agency. And this is right when Facebook had fan pages. It's also right when businesses were starting to understand that LinkedIn wasn't just a job posting site. Local businesses were starting to understand what email marketing was and what blogging was. Now, on the online space, that had been very popular for quite a while, but as far as local businesses, not so much. So we ended up doing a survey and kind of figured out what some of the business owners wanted to learn. We actually did a focus group. Then she ended up creating courses, which talked about LinkedIn, blogging, Facebook, and then email marketing. So that was great. She sold her classes out. But then all of those business owners went back to work and decided they didn't want to do it themselves. And so she got really busy. And back then it was really hard to figure out what to charge for everything. So I said to her, I've read an article about outsourcing overseas. Would you want to try that? And she said, sure. As long as you'll help me, sure. So that kind of led us on this crazy adventure. And we always like to say, if it can be done wrong, we did it wrong more than once. But we've outsourced to 6 different countries. We've hired and trained hundreds of virtual assistants at this point for ourselves and our clients. So first of all, some of the big mistakes that we made, and I think most people make, is you want this magic unicorn. You want to hire a virtual assistant who is great at admin, they're great at bookkeeping, they're great at graphic design, they're great at this. They don't exist, okay? So we really talk about getting clear on the hard skills and soft skills that you want that person to do. So for example, for a marketing virtual assistant for our clients, we want to make sure that they're fantastic at video editing. They understand the importance of audio editing. They love and are great with graphic design. They understand the importance of staying on brand. So those are the things that we're looking for. And again, they're not going to be professional film producers, and they're not going to be professional, like high-end graphic designers. But if they have a solid skill set and they're coachable and they can stay on brand with what we want or what the client wants, that's really important. From there, you want to make sure they understand social media because they'll be posting on social for you. You want to make sure they have really great tech skills because maybe you want them to put, your video onto your website, or you want them to send it out to your email list. So what we focus on is hiring people that have very specific skills to do certain jobs. So for example, we also have virtual assistants that get our clients booked on a podcast. I'm quite sure my virtual assistant booked me on this podcast with you today.
She did actually, yes.
And so that is a very different skill set. And sometimes we'll have clients say to us, if they've taken both of our programs, they'll say, well, can my marketing virtual assistant also get me booked on podcasts? And my answer is, I'm sure they absolutely could, right? They're smart people. But is that the best choice? If they love being creative, and I know you designers get this, you interior designers totally feel me. If you love being creative, you don't necessarily want to take on a lot of tasks where you have to reach out and do follow-up and fill out long forms and do follow-up and reach out. Like that's not going to be what you want to do. But there are people out there that love that job. Like they love that kind of interaction. They just have different skill sets than what we have, or different, they enjoy different tasks than we enjoy. So we always recommend hire more than one person and hire them for less hours. So in other words, hire a marketing virtual assistant for 20 hours and then maybe hire a virtual assistant in this example to get you booked on podcasts for 20 hours a week. So rather than hiring one full-time person and having them do a job where they hate 50% of it, hire two people. So, and make sure that they love what they're doing. And we talk a lot about that. If people love what they're doing, time goes by quicker. We feel satisfied. We feel like we've accomplished things. And so when you're hiring a team, think about how you feel when you've created something beautiful and you're excited about it. And so that's what you want. You want to think about hiring the right person for the right job. So that is my number one piece of advice.
I think this is so smart because like you said, we're looking for that unicorn person. And that's what I'm experiencing right now is I'm looking for a virtual assistant. And I have a couple of different people doing different things. And I'm always wondering, well, if only I could just, find that one person and I could combine all the things. But you're right. Everybody is an expert in what they do. Everybody has a specific, zone of genius. And why not, separate those 2-3 different people and give them what they like. And they're a lot more effective at their job. But I think it's just a human nature to kind of find that. It's the same thing with project management softwares. We're always looking for that one project management software that kind of manages everything, the human resources, the accounting, right, the actual project management tasks. And it simply does not exist, which is why we're using 3 or 2 different things. I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah. And I think again, having a virtual assistant who is really smart, they can learn whatever system you're in if you give them the time. So if you use a specific software and you want them to learn it for certain reasons, most of the time software companies have great training videos. So that's another piece of advice I would give to you is don't hesitate to invest time and or money in your virtual assistant. So if you want them to learn something, say, hey, take 10 hours this week and just focus on learning this. And then we'll meet and we'll talk about it. And then the same thing, we will often buy courses or things that we want our virtual assistant to learn, want someone on our team to learn. Because again, it makes more sense for us to have them go through something, give us a quick note so that they can implement it. So yeah, investing in them is really important. So I would have to say, if you're hiring, what we usually tell people is, first of all, write your job description. Like what tasks do you really want them to do? And then the second part of that is list the hard skills and soft skills that person needs to have. Because if you start to look at the skills that they need to have, you'll have a really good idea of the person you need to hire. And if you see that the hard skills and soft skills are all over their place, like they're not in line with each other, then go back to that job description and think, is this really one job or is it 2 jobs? And I think the other thing with outsourcing is your virtual assistant will almost always say yes. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Because they want to please you. They want to make you happy. Mm-hmm. But what we have found is having really happy virtual assistants on our team means that they stay with us for years. Our clients, their virtual assistants stay with them for years. Because we do value and appreciate their unique abilities, and we do want them to be able to spend as much time in those as they can. None of us get to spend all of our time in our unique abilities, but as often as we can. So hard skills, soft skills, and then from there you would create a job post. So my next piece of advice is that, and again, this is where we failed epically when Jeannie was hiring her agency. That's how we all learn, right? Like you learn by failing.
100%. And I love that you're sharing that actually.
Yeah. So really having documented processes for how you want things done. They're often referred to as SOPs, standard operating procedures. And to be honest, most of us business owners are just not great at creating those. And that's where like my business partner and I work really well together because she is great at creating structure. And then I'm kind of like more like our ideal clients. I'm not super tech savvy. Things have to be a certain way for me to get it and to make and to use it regularly. So that's what we do. She kind of creates it, then we keep running through it and fixing it and running through it and fixing it to the point where it makes sense for the virtual assistant to use and for our client to then manage the task.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when you have the SOPs. It's like it's all recorded. And when you invite new people or outsource more or grow, it's there. It's all recorded and documented.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of our clients who've gone through our program for marketing virtual assistants for video marketing and content creation, they'll say to us at the end, they'll say, I'd always heard about SOPs, but I just didn't know how to do it. And now that I see yours and my virtual assistant and I are working through them regularly week after week, I'm starting to create them in other areas of my business. And I think that's important because, again, none of us are really taught like how to document everything and then how to set it up in a project management software and how to make sure everyone's using it collaboratively. Like those are things we just don't learn.
Do you have any advice in terms of how people, if interior designers are thinking about creating SOPs, like what's the first step? Because I feel like in my mind, it sounds a little bit complicated because like imagine documenting all the things that are going on in your business. But then what would you recommend would be the first step? Is it get them to document as they do a task?
Yes. I love the saying, if you do something more than 3 times and it has more than 3 steps, document it. Okay. I did not make that up. I heard it somewhere. So no credit to me, but I love that saying. And so the biggest thing is what I find, with my one-on-one coaching clients is they will create them and they don't know where they put them. And right. I think we could all be guilty of that, right? Like you create something.
100%.
So figure out like a project management software that you are going to use. Let's say, for example, you're using Trello. Trello is free. So maybe you have a Trello board that's called admin tasks. And then every time you create a workflow or a way to do something, you create a card for it and you document it in that card. If you want to create a Loom video, then you can put a link to that Loom video in that card. So then you're creating a process, and then maybe you create a board that talks about your marketing. So think about how to use a project management software to help you organize those things so that when it is time to hire, you have a structure. The other thing is remember, it's always going to evolve. It's always going to be improved. Steps change, strategies change. So it's always a work in progress, and that's okay.
I like that. And I think designers can relate to that because as their business evolves, or maybe they had a difficult client, they continuously go and update their contract or, their other client onboarding materials. Because every time you run into a new issue, you want to make sure that, you document that so it doesn't happen again. So that's great. Is there, Kirsten, is there anything else that, designers should consider when delegating their marketing or video content to their VAs?
Yeah, the first thing is realize that we lead people, we manage tasks. So one of the things we talk about with our clients is how important it is to bring that virtual assistant in as part of your team. That's why we don't act as an agency. We're not marking up the labor of the virtual assistant because we see the value in having our clients hire a virtual assistant directly who works for them. And getting a buy-in from your virtual assistant, getting them to buy into your mission and your goals is so important. And you do that through building an authentic and real relationship with your team members. And one of the things that surprised me, because I've always had employees, was early on when clients would say things like, I feel like a real business owner now, or I'm so much more confident now that I have support in my business, or I had no idea how much I was beating myself up because I couldn't do everything. And now I have this person working 20 hours a week and I see all the things that they're doing. And I'm thinking, how the heck did I think I could do all of that and all my client work and, all of the other things I have to do in my business? So I think that's important. I think the other thing too is being self-employed can be a little bit isolating. So that was the other thing we heard a lot is they love having someone that they're having meetings with every week. They love someone who they can collaborate and bounce ideas off of. And I think that's important to think about the person you bring on as part of your team, not just someone halfway around the world that does a bunch of tasks for you.
That's true. Having that soundboard, that's for sure. You're sitting there at your computer, maybe designers are, on job site, whether they have a team or don't have a team, having that's like another person invested in your business, not the same way, but still having that soundboard, that partner, is pretty amazing. I like that. Well, Kirsten, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. You've shared a lot of different insights that we can definitely implement, not only in creating video content, but also getting help to make sure your marketing is a lot more effective. I want to ask you one more thing. Do you have a habit or a practice that you've implemented in your life or in your business that has been game changing? It doesn't have to be business related. It could be something personal.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's outsourcing. So whether you're having someone clean your home as your business grows and you start making more money, if you hate cleaning your house, hire someone to do that. Or if you still manage your own yard, over time, if you can figure out how to spend most of your time doing what you love, which is designing, then you have to let other things go, or you're going to work yourself into the ground and you're going to have burnout. So whether it's outsourcing domestic things or outsourcing, tasks and things that you don't want to do, I find that we're all happier if we're spending time doing what we really love and what we do really well. And I think for most of us, we want to truly help people, right? Like you're so excited after you've helped a client and they love their home, and that feels so good. So how can you spend more time doing that, serving more people by letting go of things? And I think one of the reasons why I am so passionate about this is because I feel like most men would outsource everything. Like, hey, Sally, I usually go to the bathroom at 2:00. Could you go tinkle for me at 2:00, right? Men will outsource everything. And women feel like we have to hold on to everything because our self-worth is tied up to it. And that's simply not true. I think the other thing is, as part of this, is we'll have business owners say, well, I need to know how to do it first. And I always use the example of video editing. I couldn't log into a video editing software if my life depended on it. But I can look at the video that's been edited and I can say, oh, I love that really smooth transition, or oh my God, that really jerky transition made me dizzy. Change that out. Or that B-roll is beautiful. Let's keep that. But most of our clients are women. We have a few men, and that particular image had too many men in it, or it had men in suits. So I can coach them on editing a video to get it to look like what I want, without needing to know how to edit a video.
Oh my God, this resonated with me so much, because sometimes I don't want to delegate something because I feel the need to first learn how to do that, which I know I'm never going to happen because I'm going to take way too much time. It's not my zone of genius. And then I end up just sitting on that task instead of just delegating, and I'm like out of sight, out of mind, and it's getting done. So amazing, amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kirsten, if interior designers want to look you up, they want to follow you,
Sure.
They want to learn from you or hire you, where can they find you?
So first of all, you can find us on the website, sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com, and that's SIX, figurebusinesscoaching.com. Our YouTube channel is the same, and we do host a podcast that is all about helping entrepreneurs. So if you want just more content around tips and tricks and things that can help you, we interview experts to do that. So Marsha, I need to talk to you about coming onto our podcast. I love that.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I think on the website, there's also, there's a link where you can click a guide that's called Double Your Income with a Marketing Virtual Assistant. So you can go to our website and just grab that free guide and take it from there.
Amazing. I'll make sure everything is in the show notes. And thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Marketing for Designers. This is Masha Cohen signing off. See you next week.